Hello and welcome, I'm Thomas Porteus and you're watching The World Report. Let's take a look at some of the top headlines. Trump urges neighbouring countries to just clean out Gaza by accepting more Palestinian refugees. He also reverses Biden's pause on heavy bomb deliveries, raising concerns about escalating regional tensions. Citing a breach by Hamas, Israel halts ceasefire plans and return continues its military presence near Lebanon. Both Lebanese leadership and France's president have condemned the escalation, calling for a swift de-escalation. Offering to help settle the war, Trump announces he has spoken with Ukrainian President Zelensky and intends to speak with Russian President Vladimir Putin soon. Observers remain cautious about his potential influence on ongoing peace efforts. Pyongyang says its newly tested cruise missile system is a show of force against American provocations. The international community watches closely, fearing increased instability in the region. US President Donald Trump has urged Egypt and Jordan to take in more Palestinians from Gaza, calling the region a real mess. Trump discussed the situation with Jordan's King Abdullah and plans to speak with Egypt's President El-Sisi. He suggested the move could be temporary or long-term, but Hamas vows to oppose any displacement. Let's take a look at the report.
President Donald Trump said Saturday he would like to see Jordan, Egypt and other Arab nations increase the number of Palestinian refugees they are accepting from the Gaza Strip, potentially moving out enough of the population to just clean out the war-torn area to create a virtual clean slate.
I'm looking at the whole Gaza Strip right now, and it's a mess. It's a real mess. We'd like Jordan to house people, 5,000 to take people. I'd like Egypt to take people. I'm meeting with, talking to General Sisi tomorrow, sometime on the. And I'd like Egypt to take people, and I'd like Jordan to take people. You're talking about probably 1.5 million people, and we just clean out that whole thing. It's.
During a 20-minute question and answer session with reporters aboard Air Force One, Trump also said he has ended his predecessor's hold on sending 2,000-pound bombs to Israel. That lifts a pressure point meant to reduce civilian casualties during Israel's war with Hamas in Gaza, which is now halted by a tenuous ceasefire. Trump has built his political career around being unapologetically pro-Israel. On his larger vision for Gaza, Trump said he had called earlier in the day with King Abdullah II of Jordan and would speak Sunday with President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi of Egypt. Bureau Report, NewsX.
Now let's take a look at some news updates from North America. Rain fell in Southern California, aiding firefighters battling wildfires, but charred hills face toxic ash runoff risks. LA issued flood warnings and cleanup orders. Crews reinforced slopes, cleared drains and filled sandbags. Toxic ash from burnt materials poses health risks. More rain and snow are forecast through Tuesday. A private investigator in New Mexico pleaded guilty to racketeering and bribery. He bribed officers since 2008 to dismiss DWI cases. Clients paid cash retainers used to pay officers. Over a dozen police officers resigned or were terminated. The probe revealed systemic corruption in DWI cases. Prosecutors recommended a reduced sentence. A Florida man was arrested for threatening Trump online. Shannon Atkins, 46, was stopped in West Palm Beach. He also faces drug charges after cocaine was found on him. Atkins lives near Trump's Mar-a-Lago but made no approach. FBI and Secret Service are investigating further. He remains held without bond. Darren Osborne hid 4 bodies for his son. The victims were killed after a night of drinking in 2021. Bodies were left in a car in a cornfield. His son, Antoine Suggs, was sentenced to 103 years. Osborne will serve sentences concurrently. The case involved self-representation at sentencing. Rose Byrne stars in If I Had Legs, I'd Kick You. The film premiered at Sundance, wowing audiences. Byrne plays a mother on the edge dealing with crisis. Conan O'Brien and A$AP Rocky also star in it. Director Mary Bronstein crafts an intense, surreal story. The movie is an early festival favourite. Today, the fragile Israel-Hamas ceasefire faces serious strain as both sides accuse each other of failing to uphold commitments. Tensions rise over the missing Israeli hostage Arbel Yehud, and Lebanon's President Aoun urges France to press Israel over ceasefire violations. Let's take a look at the report.
The fragile nature of the truce between Israel and Hamas has been exposed today, as Israel has accused Hamas of withholding a hostage. This has led to a halt in the movement of Gazan civilians, who have not been allowed to return to the north as planned. The ceasefire, already described as a framework rather than a formal deal, has been under strain. Tensions have escalated following the absence of 29-year-old Arbel Yehud, who Israel had expected to be freed alongside other hostages on Saturday. In a twist, it has been revealed that Yehud is not being held by Hamas, but by the Palestinian Islamic Jihad. Sources have confirmed that Yehud will be released as part of the agreed prisoner exchange. Both Hamas and Israel have now accused each other of failing to uphold their commitments, raising serious concerns about the future of the ceasefire. Meanwhile, Lebanese civilians gather near an Israeli military vehicle at Borj al-Mouk village as hundreds try to return home before the deadline for Israeli withdrawal. On the other hand, Lebanese President Joseph Aoun has urged France to pressure Israel to fully adhere to the ceasefire agreement with Hezbollah, following a phone call with French President Emmanuel Macron. Aoun condemned Israel's ongoing violations, including the destruction of border villages and land bulldozing. Macron assured Aoun of France's commitment to diplomatic efforts to uphold the ceasefire and ensure its full implementation. Bureau Report, NewsX.
Now let's take a look at some news updates from across South America. Colombia's government announced a $700,000 reward for information leading to the capture and conviction of 4 leaders of the National Liberation Army. The reward follows President Gustavo Petro's decree granting clemency powers to restore order in a region plagued by violence between the ELN and guerrilla dissidents. The president of Haiti's Transitional Presidential Council, Leslie Voltaire, described the Trump administration's decisions to freeze aid, deport migrants and block refugees as catastrophic for Haiti. This came after he met with Pope Francis at the Vatican. Voltaire appealed for support, stating, "The Pope loves Haiti and is eager to help," highlighting the country's need for assistance. Argentina's economy grew by 0.1% year-on-year in November, marking its first expansion in 6 months, according to official data. This growth surpassed analysts' expectations, who had predicted a 0.6 contraction. The positive figures suggest a potential recovery for Argentina's struggling economy, which has been impacted by President Javier Milei's austerity measures to control inflation and stabilize the nation. A court in El Salvador sentenced 3 youths to 5 years in prison and placed 5 others on probation after they were filmed making gang signs inside a school. The youths, aged 12 to 15, were arrested following the TikTok video linked to the MS-13 gang. This comes amid President Nayib Bukele's tough crackdown on gangs, which has seen over 84,000 arrests. Colombia's President Gustavo Petro issued a decree granting emergency powers to restore order in the violent Catatumbo region near Venezuela, the region where a deadly turf war between rebel groups has caused at least 80 deaths and displaced 36,000 people. The decree allows curfews, traffic restrictions, and other measures normally requiring congressional approval, marking a significant escalation in response to the conflict. US President Donald Trump steps into the spotlight again, aiming to mediate the Ukraine war. With Putin open to talks and Zelensky firm on Kiev's inclusion, could this reshape global diplomacy? Let's have a look at the report.
US President Donald Trump has reignited hopes for a possible resolution to the ongoing Ukraine war. Speaking to reporters on Saturday, Trump revealed he plans to speak with Russian President Vladimir Putin soon in a bid to settle the conflict. This comes as Putin, in a rare gesture, expressed Russia's willingness to engage in talks with the United States. In an interview with Russian state TV, Putin said his government is ready for negotiations on a wide range of issues. Trump has been vocal about his belief that the war could have been avoided altogether. He repeated claims that under his administration, the conflict would never have broken out. Trump added that both Putin and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky desire an end to the war. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky insists Ukraine must be part of any negotiations.
Виключити Україну неможливо з будь-якого перемовного майданчику. Або цей переговорний майданчик не буде мати реальний результат, або буде мати тільки результати політичні.
Putin praised Trump as pragmatic and suggested the crisis might not exist if Trump had remained president. With global attention, Trump's bid to mediate could shift dynamics, but major hurdles remain. Bureau Report, NewsX.
Now let's take a look at some news updates from across the Indo-Pacific. Two historic statues were damaged in Melbourne before Australia Day celebrations on Sunday. Tens of thousands of people across the country have joined protests in support of Aboriginal groups. These groups argue that the date is not one to celebrate. A statue of a colonialist, John Batman, has been sawn in half. He is the founder of the country's second largest city. President Donald Trump's foreign aid pause has forced a suspension of flights for more than 40,000 Afghans approved for special US visas. These individuals are at risk of Taliban retribution, according to leading advocate and a US official. South Koreans have been repurposing flower wreaths and K-pop light sticks as political protest tools amid the nation's deepest political crisis. Hundreds of wreaths, predominantly directed at Yoon himself, have been sent to his residence connected to the impeachment proceedings. Some of the wreaths were also targeting other officials involved in the martial law controversy. Colourful tableau fighter jet formations and motorbike stunts by Army daredevils have marked India's Republic Day celebrations in New Delhi. The event commemorates the day's nation's secular constitution came into effect in the 1950s. Thousands have gathered in the capital to watch the parade from seats around the Kartaya path. They have cheered the march by troops from India's defence forces and dance performances. The CIA on Saturday offered a new assessment on the origin of the COVID outbreak. It stated that the coronavirus is more likely to have leaked from a Chinese lab than come from animals. However, the intelligence agency has cautioned that it has low confidence in this determination. Brazil has strongly condemned the United States after dozens of deportees arrived to the country in handcuffs. The plane was carrying 88 Brazilian passengers, 16 US security agents, and 8 crew members. As per reports, the deportation flight was not directly linked to any immigration orders issued by Trump upon taking office Monday, but rather stemmed from a 2017 bilateral agreement. Meanwhile, tensions over US deportation continue in Mexico. In the latest update, Mexico has refused a request from President Donald Trump's administration to allow US military aircraft deporting migrants to land in the country as per official reports. What's next in the ongoing deportation issues? Watch this report.
Brazil's government expressed outrage on Saturday after dozens of immigrants deported from the United States arrived by plane in handcuffs, calling it a flagrant disregard for their rights. The spat comes as Latin America grapples with US President Donald Trump's return to power with a hardline anti-immigration agenda, promising crackdowns on irregular migration and mass deportations. When the plane landed in the northern city of Manaus, Brazilian authorities ordered US officials to immediately remove the handcuffs, the Justice Ministry said in a statement. As per reports, the deportation flight was not directly linked to any immigration orders issued by Trump upon taking office Monday, but rather stemmed from a 2017 bilateral agreement. Trump promised a crackdown on illegal immigration during the election campaign and began his second term with a flurry of executive actions aimed at overhauling entry to the United States. A statement from Brazil's federal police said the plane arrived Friday night with 88 Brazilians on board, but the government of Amazonas state, of which Manaus is the capital, said there were 79 passengers, 62 men, 11 women, and 6 children. The use of handcuffs on migrants is considered controversial in Brazil. Even former conservative Brazilian President Jair Bolsonaro, a Trump supporter, has called for an end to the practice. Bureau Report, NewsX.
Now let's take a look at some news updates from across Europe. Italy's navy began transporting 49 migrants to detention centres in Albania, resuming a plan to control sea arrivals. The move follows a controversial agreement with Albania, which includes 2 reception centres built by Giorgia Meloni's government. However, these centres have remained empty since November due to legal challenges. Belarusian President Alexander Lukashenko, casting his vote in an election to extend his 31-year rule, claimed that some of his political opponents chose prison or exile. During a lengthy press conference, he responded to questions about the fairness of the vote. He stated that his government did not expel anyone from the country despite the opposition's absence. Britain announced that retailers will be required to enforce stringent age verification checks to prevent minors from purchasing knives. The move follows a knife attack in July by Axel Cabana, who killed 3 young girls at a Taylor Swift-themed dance event. The attack, condemned by Prime Minister Keir Starmer, has resulted in a public inquiry into the failures that allowed it. Slovak Prime Minister Robert Fico dismissed calls for his resignation on Saturday after large protests against his government's strategy pivot towards Russia. Around 60,000 people protested in Bratislava, with media efforts estimating up to 100,000 people across the country. These were the largest demonstrations since Fico resumed office in 2023. Romanian artifacts, including a 2,500-year-old gold helmet, were stolen from the Drenthe Museum in the Netherlands on Saturday. The Ghetto-Dacian artifacts belonged to the National History Museum in the capital Bucharest and were on loan and were part of a touring exhibition. The display, featuring 673 artifacts, was set to close on Sunday, according to the museum. Greek lawmakers failed to elect a new president in Saturday's first round of voting. A candidate needed 200 votes on the 300-seat parliament to win the largely ceremonial post. A second vote is scheduled for January the 31st, with expectations of another inconclusive result. The required majority will drop after each round, eventually needing a simple majority of those present. In a surprise move, US billionaire Elon Musk has voiced support for Germany's far-right AfD party, stirring controversy just weeks before the national elections. Let us take a look at the report.
The rally in Halle was electric as Musk addressed thousands of FD supporters via video link. His comments on national pride were met with cheers as he stressed that it is okay to be proud to be German, a message that resonated deeply with the crowd.
It's okay to be proud to be German. This is a very important principle. And
Musk criticized the EU, saying it holds too much power and control over Germany.
I think you want more self-determination for Germany and for the countries in Europe, and less from Brussels. That's my opinion. I think there's too much bureaucracy from Brussels, too much control from sort of global elite.
AfD leader Alice Weidel praised Musk and sent well wishes to Donald Trump, calling him the best.
We wish you, President Donald Trump, Vice President J.D. Vance, all the best to make America great again. You're the best.
While Musk's address was met with fervent applause inside the rally, it sparked an uproar outside. In cities like Cologne and Berlin, large-scale protests erupted as tens of thousands rallied against the rise of far-right extremism in Germany. These protests were a direct response to AfD's anti-immigrant stance, a key issue in the upcoming elections. Activists chanted anti-fascist slogans, condemning both the party and Musk's endorsement. Musk's increasing role in European politics raises concerns about foreign influence in Germany's upcoming elections. Bureau Report, NewsX.
Now let's take a look at some news updates from across the world of business. President Donald Trump capped a frenzied first week back in office with a stop in Las Vegas on Saturday. He discussed cutting taxes on tips, a 2024 campaign promise he has made in the gambling and hospitality hub. Trump took the stage before cheering supporters at the Circa Resort and Casino. He stood in front of a large banner reading "No tax on tips." He stated that economic confidence has been soaring in the United States. Mediobanca's board is set to meet on Tuesday to discuss a bid for the Italian merchant bank. The bid comes from state-backed Monte dei Paschi di Siena. On Friday, MPS joined the consolidation wave, sweeping Italian banking. It made a $13.3 billion euro all-share offer to buy Mediobanca. US President Donald Trump has signed an executive order banning the creation and insurance of central digital banking currency in the US. In the run-up to his presidential campaign, he repeatedly stated that banning CBDC would be one of his key agendas. This is the first big move from Trump related to Bitcoin and cryptocurrency in his second term in office. Indonesia's cryptocurrency trading activity has surged by 400% in 2024. It reached 40.2 billion according to the Jakarta Globe. The Commodity Futures Trading Regulatory Agency has attributed this exponential growth to a rising user base. It's also pointed to higher transaction volumes as key factors. Kia America has recalled 81,000 Niro EVs, plug-in hybrid and hybrid vehicles in the US. This recall is due to concerns about improper airbag and seatbelt deployment. There is also a risk of an airbag deploying unintentionally, which could increase the risk of injury in a crash. And that is all we have time for. We will continue to bring you more news updates from across the world.